This movie contains so many of Arnie's most quotable lines, and get ready for some more bad impressions like, "Get to the chopper!" and "If it bleeds, we can kill it." And my personal favorite, just because it's so blunt, "You are one ugly motherfucker." Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to another Super Series Tuesday. For today, we will be covering a brand new series for the next 3 weeks, and we will be covering the Predator franchise. So the Predator franchise consists of Predator, Predator 2, Predators, very intricate naming system here, and then we will be leading into the upcoming The Predator. So let's hop right into it, guys. Predator was released in 1987, was directed by John McTiernan, and stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, and Kevin Peter Hall as the Predator. So Predator follows a team of commandos who go into the jungle on a rescue mission and then find themselves being hunted by an extraterrestrial warrior, or as we all know him as, the Predator. First positive for this movie is just two badass action stars with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. These guys are great in pretty much everything they do anyway. I mean, this is an 80s action flick, so it was either one of those two or Sylvester Stallone or Bruce Willis were going to be in it. But this was pre-Die Hard, so I guess maybe not Bruce Willis. But regardless, guys, the two of them are great. They're great action stars. They're super likable humans, and I actually really enjoy the character dynamic they have with one another. It's almost like a love-hate relationship. They have some kind of past, and they don't really touch on it a whole lot, but the past is there, and sometimes it does get brought back up in a more negative light, and other times they have the, you know, "Oh, you son of a bitch," and then grab arms, and except, you know, they have opposite hands, and their arms are slightly bigger than mine, but you know what I mean, right? They're old friends, but they're also old enemies, and I really like the dynamic that they share throughout this movie. And next is something that I loved in this movie. It is the gore, the makeup, and the costume design in this movie. I thought all of that is check marks, 100% across the board. The gore especially. As you guys know, I am a sucker for really good gore. I don't like movies with a lot of violence that don't have any gore, and I also don't like movies with a lot of violence that have crappy CGI gore. I love 80s action movies for this reason, that they use blood squibs. They didn't have CGI for this crappy fake blood just thrown in afterwards. No, you actually have to have like buckets of fake blood just exploding out of bodies and going everywhere. This movie does that amazingly. It is actually friggin' awesome. Although some of the characters you don't want to see die, it's really cool when you see a laser go and explode their head. I gotta admit, the gore is really awesome in this movie. The makeup's really great too. I just kind of like the whole look of the soldiers and the vibe of them just kind of going through the jungle and being, you know, injured, and they're being hunted the whole time. And I obviously love the makeup on the Predator, but that also goes hand in hand with the costume design. But the makeup anyway too, with things like the bodies that get skinned by the Predator and stuff like that. All that stuff was really cool, it looked really good. And then of course I have to also give it to the Predator himself, because, or herself, I guess we don't actually technically know what the Predator is. I guess it's just an it itself. But yeah, the costume design, the Predator is one of the most iconic aliens in film history. The Predator is known from end to end, all around this beautiful globe. And the costume design is phenomenal. Honestly, guys, it is so detailed, and it is so just interesting, honestly. You just look it up and down. It's not plain. It's not just like a guy in armor with a mask and dreadlocks. No, it has it has a story going all through it, and it is so good. And like I said, it is extremely well detailed, and it is just beautiful to look at, the costume design alone from the Predator. Also, just a fun fact, I guess, this movie was Oscar nominated, but it was Oscar nominated for its visual effects. I don't think the visual effects really hold up nowadays, but I guess I can't really speak on that a whole lot. It didn't age that well in my mind, like when the Predator is invisible and things like that. It's not horrible, I just don't think it's great, but obviously we're speaking from 1987 terms, so I'm sure this was something that was like so cool way back then, so I guess I would give them props for getting that Oscar nomination. And next, I've already preached about the costume design, but just the Predator itself is so damn badass. Just everything about the Predator, just the way it carries itself, the way it does its hunting, its technology, with its little laser cannon on its shoulder there, and its invisibility cloak, its blades that come out of it, it's almost like Wolverine-style claws, and just like its hunting methods and everything are so damn cool, and they are friggin' grisly. Like I said, you have that laser cannon for a lot of them. They also get a lot of slashes. It always skins its victims alive, and also, reaches into their back and pulls out their spine and skull attached. It is like the ultimate Predator. Yeah, it's the ultimate hunter, the ultimate predator. I thought the Predator was amazing. Next is just there's so many quotable and iconic moments from this movie. There's so many iconic shots, like the ones I just said earlier on in the beginning of the video, and even just some other things like when Arnie's just like, you know, laying against the tree and it looks like he's, you know, beaten near to death, and he's just, come on, do it, kill me, do it, do it, do it. Like, you know, it just, there's so many quotable and iconic moments in this movie that it definitely earned its right among one of the greatest sci-fi action movies to date, or at least one of the most iconic anyway. But regardless, I understand why people do see it as one of the greats. And lastly, on the positives, I just really enjoy the overall, just the Commandos especially. They're just, their banter, their dialogue, what they go back and forth with, just the jokes they hit at each other, the respect they have for each other and everything. They're bros, right? Like, they insult one another, but then they all are able just to laugh it off. They just take turns taking jabs at one another, but then no matter what, they're brothers. They have each other's back, they look out for each other, and they genuinely care about each other. So I really, really enjoy the dynamic that the Commandos all kind of share as this one unit. And I thought that all the actors did a phenomenal job portraying that kind of brotherhood that those Commandos would share in reality. And now at the top of the negatives, and it comes at like the very end of the movie, and it's something that goes down in infamy in my mind, and that is the Predator's laugh. What? Who thought this was a good idea? It's just like this predator, this extraterrestrial being, this badass hunter and everything, and then at the end of the movie, I'm not going to say what the context that it's in, but it just laughs like a normal human. Like this weird cackle, like Bond villain laugh, like a 007 movie villain laugh at the very end, just like this loud cackling, and it just gets louder and louder and takes up the entire just audio of the movie. This just bellowing, echoing, just weird cackly laugh from this extraterrestrial being that doesn't know English, and it's just this weird laugh from some random dude. I don't get why it's there, and I friggin' hate it. I don't understand. But regardless, it's in this movie, so, you know, it's going on the top of the negatives. Another thing that I don't feel like a lot of people might agree with me on, but I honestly felt that, I know you can't extend the movie a whole lot more, it's already an hour and 47 minutes, but I felt so many characters were killed off way too early. They killed off before they even had the chance to develop, or they were killed off just as soon as they started developing. But I just want to say, like, some characters I thought were really cheated of any sort of development. One was Hawkins, who was actually played by Shane Black, and fun fact, Shane Black is now a director. He directed Iron Man 3, The Nice Guys, and is directing the upcoming The Predator, the next sequel, reboot, installment of the Predator franchise. But yeah, I thought he was totally cheated. He barely got any development whatsoever. I thought that really sucked. Another one was Mac. He started to get development. He was very just stoic, didn't say a whole lot, did his job, kind of just this big burly dude, and then he starts going crazy. He's trying to kill this predator, and he's going mad, just running off away from the group, and he's just twitching and freaking out, and he's super just skittish. And then, again, he doesn't really go any further than that, and I thought that was super annoying, and I kind of felt cheated by some of these characters not being able to develop. Next is just a random shooting and explosions in this movie. I thought that was a total pain, honestly, because there's so many moments in this movie where all the characters are just unloading clip after clip after clip, and some of them doesn't seem like they ever reload, just at nothing. Like, there is one point during, like, the rescue mission part where, yeah, they're trying to kill the enemies and stuff like that, and that's fine. Again, I like the gore and stuff, but it's just kind of random things of them shooting a bunch and not aiming. It's just, like, down here by their hips, and they're just spraying back and forth, killing enemies, and just random wooden buildings are exploding, and there's barrels exploding and cars exploding. And it's even worse when they're just randomly shooting in the jungle, and you're just getting a bunch of close-ups of them hitting trees and you know, knocking branches off and leaves, and just random explosions, like... First off, no commando would waste that much ammo. They would not be able to aim like that. it's just like, yeah, these guys have unlimited ammo and unlimited resources in the middle of the jungle, but I understand it's an 80s action flick and that happens in almost all of them, but to me it felt super annoying when you're spending like 5 minutes just watching them shoot into the jungle at nothing. Next is the girl in this movie. I felt she served no purpose whatsoever, honestly. She barely spoke any English, and she kind of does towards the end, but yeah, that doesn't make any difference because she doesn't do anything. She doesn't do anything to service the plot. They take her as a hostage, and then at that point is pretty much just trying to keep her alive and trying to keep her from running away. I felt she served literally no purpose to the plot. The movie wouldn't be any different if she wasn't in it, so that makes me think, why is she even in it? I don't understand her purpose at all in this movie. And lastly, I just honestly felt the final fight between Arnie and the Predator to be supremely underwhelming. There's this big setup for a few minutes where Arnie's, going through and setting up traps and doing this, that, and getting all these preparations done and stuff, and then when the final showdown comes, he basically just gets his ass kicked, gets slapped around, and then the fight suddenly ends. And I honestly felt super cheated by this final battle. I found it to be supremely underwhelming, and I didn't really enjoy it all that much. So guys, those are my thoughts on the iconic Predator movie. I am looking forward to covering the rest of these, and I'm extremely looking forward to The Predator, honestly. I know a lot of people are kind of bashing it, saying it looks generic, yada yada, but I trust Shane Black. Who better to direct The Predator than the man who was in the first Predator and took on this creature its first time around? I think he's a very capable director. With Iron Man 3 as a blockbuster, and with The Nice Guys as a solid R-rated buddy comedy. I feel like you add those two together and just throw the Predator in there, you have a perfect Predator movie. So I am very much so looking forward to it and covering the rest of this franchise. So with all that being said, guys, the positives and the negatives, I'm going to be giving Predator a 7.5 out of 10. So guys, if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know, do you think Predator deserves its icon status? And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap.